everybody, how's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who this is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast, when Some Magazine said, initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are all sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire business code CVPod at darkfusionsystems.com. The podcast below. Let's go to our feature presentation. This guy was back in the podcast, I want to say like 2021. This is the third time this band is on the podcast. Second time for this guy. We have Tyler from Saving Vice back with us today. The album Good Days, Dead Eyes is out now. We talk about the album. We talk about their upcoming tour with Fight From Within. But we really dive deep into what happened with Saving Vice, what happened with Tyler, and why it's good that he finds his identity in more than just music. And that's why Saving Vice is back. It's a good episode to really sink your teeth into. You ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. We have had this band, the podcast, twice, but this guy has not been on the podcast in a couple of years. It has been some time. It has been some shit, but he is back, and we are ready to talk about some great stuff like a brand new one that came out back in May called Good Days, Dead Eyes. And this band is going on tour with Fight From Within starting in October. So you want to rock out, you want to listen to some good-ass metalcore, and you want to have a great time with it, boom, this is the band that you're going to want to check out. So please welcome Tyler from Saving Vice back to the podcast. So Tyler, welcome back.
That was a hell of an introduction. Holy shit. I feel like I'm like, I don't even watch wrestling, but I feel like I'm there. But thank you, man. I'm good. I'm just been staying busy, to be honest. Just trying to. I think it took me until we were talking earlier. It took me till probably this week to really accept that. Oh my God, we're actually going on tour. Like I got to pack, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy, especially because I know you guys haven't been on tour in a while. I know you haven't been on the road in a while. You've been trying to do some other things too. And now back doing music, brand new album out to actually go out and tour on. So it's kind of like a rush of positive euphoria is coming your way now that you realize, oh man, I'm going on tour. Honey, where's my leather jacket?
Yeah, and yeah, it's funny because I was just trying to like, it's like you have to, it's like every tour I try to minimize what I'm bringing, but I'm also like trying to do bigger and cooler things with our performance. So it's like, oh, it'd be cool if I wore like this jacket from this video when we played this song or something. But it's like I try to pack like a suitcase and a backpack. So I'm like, I have like, 16 like leather jackets, trench coats, windbreakers, and ponchos, and that make me look like, Darth Vader or some shit. And then I just have to like narrow it down to, will one keep me dry? Will I actually wear this more than once? And then, cut my way down. But we all kind of like forgot how to do all of this, I feel like, because we've all just been sitting at home and just working or doing other stuff, like you said.
Yeah, so during this time when you guys haven't been doing much and you guys have been, just kind of sitting in the background, what have you guys been doing to not only prepare yourself for this tour, but also, like, what were you doing in between this time from, your last big tour to now going out with Fight From Within?
I mean, aside from just going through, like the worst trauma of our lives twice, which I won't get into too much, I feel like we kind of, like, went back to just doing what we did best in our own ways. And I think we tried to kind of take a break from, I guess, almost like see if like, is this worth all this shit that you have to deal with, And it was kind of out of our hands at some points. And at one point I really thought I was just done, because I just was like, the only way I'm ever going to be free of like the internet and all this like bullshit and the lies and the drama and the rumors and the jealousy and the spite and the people trying to start arguments was to just like walk away. So it's like, if I'm not doing anything and I'm not succeeding, no one can like look for a reason to just ruin my day when I'm trying to just do me. And that's like pretty much what all I did. I can't speak too much for the other guys I know. Sammy works with in recovery, helping people. I don't know that I'm really bad at the details of his job. I won't say anything in case I say the wrong thing. And Robbie mainly has just been doing his production like he always has. So he's been kind of flourishing doing that. I just kind of looked for the things that I was passionate about when I thought I wasn't going to ever do music and trying to go back to those. So you know, like just trying to do art, or like, oh, well, I've always bitched that I've never had time to get back into doing all these martial arts. So I just did a different martial art like every day for a year or so, you know what I mean? And I was training here and there before, but now I'm like, I work from home. I have like side gigs and all these little forms of income I've kind of found. And I really just leaned into doing vocal lessons and the writing lesson stuff, which was weirdly fulfilling when I had nothing to look forward to. And it almost kind of like getting to like kind of just take a person from nothing and get them to like where Saving Vice was in like 2017, where they're kind of ready to go out the door with our playbook of like, you know, and getting like the confidence. And that it's like, it's almost like you get to kind of live vicariously through them a little bit, like disciples, you know what I mean? So it kind of I really didn't miss, like I miss exploring and tour, and I miss being on stage performing, but I don't even remember what it feels like, you know? I just, there was so much about the music industry I despised and was so like disgusted by that, like the scale had tipped so far that I wasn't even like, I didn't even miss it anymore. I was like, I wake up, do, you know, whatever, kung fu, whatever, you know, hang out my cat, brush my cat, do my side gig, have a bunch of sessions, do art, do whatever the fuck I want. You know, I'm like doing like things like lightsabers and martial arts stuff online, getting like, you know, working with the company that makes them and stuff, trying to get like into doing stuff like that. I'm like trying to start this like Nerf league with I've been hanging out with like my best friend from like high school, who I went to like did art with like almost every day. Like the past year, we've just like working out, training, doing Nerf, playing video games, hiking, shooting, you know, just being like a Vermont dude, like a kid, like kind of catching up on all the shit I didn't do when I was grinding day and night at a day job just to like tour with the band. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I really just kind of had like a summer vacation, I guess, that started in like depression. And then slowly we finally did the album. We decided we were going to do it. And, you know, we got like, you know, we got here, and I really thought that after this tour, maybe we were going to just do it because we need to make up all this money that was kind of stolen from us by this sabotage we went through and shit. And I thought that was just going to be it. It was like, we'll do it. One last thing. We'll play the album, and then we'll blah. And then it all kind of, with the Fight From Within and all that stuff started happening. It just kind of like suddenly started to just feel like the old days again. And everyone's attitude like flip-flopped. And like mine kind of did too, but I still like didn't believe it until we had like, I don't know, but we just had like one of our guys who's coming on tour with us to do photos and stuff. And then our fill-in bassist, who's really cool, just signed their contracts and stuff. So like now I'm like, holy shit, it's real. And I'm like, oh my God, like we're touring, it's like October, we're touring like this month. Like that's nutty. Like that's real. But this isn't really just, I'm like, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. You know, that was a lot. That was the short version, to be honest.
It definitely seems like the short version, because I mean, we could talk for hours about all this stuff that had happened to you and what you've gone through and everything you did from the last point we talked and everything that happened up until now. But really what it seems kind of happened, especially from my perspective, because I mean, I've seen your Facebook posts. I know our friends on Facebook, so I've seen some of this stuff go on. Is what it seems like is when everything was going on and you went more into that, you know, I'm not sure if I want to do music anymore. I kind of want to just remove myself from the internet and not have really anyone notice me. It's the passion that you had for music and the passion you had for something that was very creative and very expressive for yourself was now completely taken away from an outside force that really wasn't going to bring any positivity. So, you seem like you're right.
Yeah, I was going to say, I almost thought you were going to say verbatim something I said. How I kind of phrased it was this one thing that I've never stopped thinking about and never stopped dreaming about and never stopped wanting to do, and nothing's ever been better in my entire adult life since I'm a teenager. I've been chasing this, is now like this source of trauma and just like bitterness and spite and anger. And like when you have like the thing you love turned into like the thing you hate and fear the most. And I don't know. There's a lot of Jedi Sith shit in our new album, because I was like really vibing with like, I must have just watched like every revenge, like murder, revenge, like dark spiraling movie or thing you could think of, because that was just where my head was at for a very long time, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But then when it came down to when you had that moment where the thing that you love the most in life, the thing that you had the most creativity behind, the most passion behind, turned to the thing that you hated and feared the most, what you essentially did was you removed yourself from it and then decided to figure out, just maybe what you wanted to try else and do in life, but also try and find things that you are passionate about in different areas, like vocal lessons, like, just helping out other people trying to get to a certain point within their songwriting, within their musical career, your different side gigs as well. I know from your artistic expression on that side of things, or talking about your best friend, Nerf guns, martial arts and stuff. You're just going back to this, like the basics of being simple, of what's going to make you happy, what's going to be something that's going to really bring that positivity back in terms of overall artistic expression, which is something I know you're very, very deeply rooted in, but also something that's going to recreate that positive interaction and connection with more people around you that truly do care about you and want to see you succeed. So all of a sudden, when you decided to maybe take a turn back to music, now you're seeing it more in a positive light because you have the positivity coming back to it. Yes, I know there's going to be fear there, especially going into the album cycle and now going into this tour, because it's getting back into it and remembering all the repercussions and the reverberations of what had happened in the past. But now you have that support system built up behind you, as well as your own emotional support within yourself from the creative standpoint, and just you found joy in the little things again. I mean, shooting Nerf guns with your high school best friend, come on. What's not to enjoy about that?
It's more fun than, it's literally like softcore paintball. It's pretty, except like we have melee weapons like axes and swords, so like we'll end up like running out of darts and end up in like physical grappling skirmishes where we're like half doing martial arts, like sticky hands practice, like actually struggling to like get the kill. And we're gonna get more people into it. My buddy has probably like 50 Nerf guns. He has a motor powered Gatling gun with like extra chains of darts and shit, like in bandoliers. It's like really good exercise, and it's like I feel like everyone should do it. I feel like every school should have an after school Nerf league where they teach kids gun safety, and it's like Nerf instead of guns or something, like, and every kid could just get into this shit because it's so fun.
Yeah, and also it builds camaraderie. It builds that connection between other people as well, especially in a day and age where everything is so heavily focused online, especially even for a younger generation. The younger you go, the more prominent that online source becomes, but you lose out on so much of that human connection where if I talk to people... What was that?
We're just touching grass.
Yeah.
Like, like these kids aren't even touching grass. You can keep going. I didn't cut you off, but you made me think of like, yeah, it's like they're like, well, they call them, I don't know. I might be wrong. Don't they call them like the iPad kids or something?
The iPad generation. Yeah, I've heard that before. Because I think about like when I was a kid, it was, we had video games really starting to become more of a prominent thing. When I was younger, it was like the N64, PS2, the Game Boy era when Pokemon was really big. Yeah, we would go and play that stuff.
Whoa. Pokemon will always be really big. Relax.
I'm talking about the absolute height and peak of it when you had like Pokemon Gold and Silver and Crystal coming out. Like that's what I'm talking about.
It's I don't know, man. Could you honestly tell me that Pokemon's was more popular then than it is now? I mean, Pokemon Go, like every person who's too cool for video games plays Pokemon Go.
Okay, maybe those 2 weeks in 2016 where world peace actually happened because everyone was trying to catch Charizard.
You just like so that it's funny you say that, because that time when everyone was just playing Pokemon Go and happy is like the closest thing I can describe like what I've been doing just off the internet and not. I mean, I'm on the internet, but like I'm saying, if you say the slightest stupid douchey thing, like I don't owe strangers on the internet anything anymore. Like you're just blocked, and I just like it's the ability, like I cannot tell you how therapeutic it is to just be like in the grass and then someone's like trying to bait you into an argument about something they don't even understand, and then you're just like boop, and you just go back to like loading your Nerf shotgun, and that guy's like for the next 4 hours is like on his computer just like blowing a gasket, acting like a fucking loser. And it's just like that's what all of these people look like to me now, and it used to scare me because they had so much power, but it's like you can't kill me twice, bro. It's like the worst thing that could have happened has already happened, and I like it didn't stick, and now I'm still here. So it's like, and I feel like I'm because now music isn't my identity anymore. My whole purpose isn't just to be Tyler from Saving Vice. That wasn't like I wasn't waking up looking at my likes and my Spotify numbers or any of that shit. Like I didn't even care about it. Like, and it was like to come back to music with like our best album and probably me as the best performer and the most fit and happy I've ever been, I think is like some weird way I was kept telling the guys, I feel like somehow this is going to be worth it. Like it always is, no matter how bad it is. Like but I stopped believing that, but I never stopped telling myself that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't believe it anymore, but I was like carrying that flag. Like when I was the last guy in the sand, like sinking, and my hand was like, maybe God will see me really trying. And I don't even believe in God, but I swear to God, bro, I fucking prayed one time just for Robbie. Because Robbie was like, well, bro, I mean, it could be anything, right? It could be the Force. It could be like aliens that have like technology and power over like everything. And I was like, okay, I'll give you that. Man, I have nothing else to fucking lose. I'll pray to some aliens. Let's go. So I did. And then all this good shit happened. Like, I was like, bro, I don't know if there's any SV magic left. I mean, like, I don't know if we have another, oh, we're on Warped Tour before we dropped our first song in us, you know? Like, it's just like, I just don't know. Maybe like everyone was right and, you know, we got too close to the sun too fast. But it's like, we also have suffered everything a band could possibly experience in like our, 7 years that we've been doing this. So at this point, it's like, all I have left to lose is my life or my wife at this point. You know what I mean? It's like the album's out there. No one can stop that now. My message is there. It's eternal. And I've had so many people reach out to me. I think that was really what brought me back ultimately was the, like every band says it's such a fucking cliche, but like you guys, like like I cannot explain the amount of people, like even today I got a voice message from a kid who was just like, I just really appreciate your no bullshit attitude and how you just like don't fuck with this shit and you're just doing it. You're not playing the game. And it's just like more people should aspire to be like that and blah, blah. And I'm like, thank God. Cause that's like that was like the reason that's like the last thing I have to really stand for here. You know what I mean? Is like, these people aren't real and they shouldn't get to tear down people who are, and people who are doing nothing should not get to ruin the lives of people who are doing something because they type something on the internet. Like, it's and now that same shit that ruins people's lives on the internet is now and I'm not going to get into politics, but like, it's the reason politics is the way it is because anything you make up automatically has to be respected as true now. Like, so it's just like, it's ridiculous. And I can't adhere to that kind of logic in any setting or situation. And anyone who even kind of thinks like that, it's like, you already aren't even tall enough for the ride. I'm not going to debate you. I'm just going to block you. Because like, if I have to spend the first half of like, we're trying, like I said, if you wanted to talk to me about a policy or a legislation, that's a real thing. That's not some headline or conspiracy you made up. I will have a conversation with anyone. Maybe you can change my mind, but not a single person has ever brought me evidence of anything I've ever argued with anyone about, literally ever. So it's like, I just kind of gave up because if you spend your whole argument with someone, if you're talking about Ronnie Radke or if you're talking about the vice president nominee, doesn't matter. If you have to spend the first fucking half hour just debunking rumors that are already proven false, that person's already so far gone. And it's like Jake Gyllenhaal said in Spider-Man, like, it's really easy to fool people who are already fooling themselves. And if someone wants to hate someone because they're like, if you're a Red Sox fan, you're going to believe every fucking narrative about the Yankees, no matter what it is. And that stupidity is bled into reality. And I can't stand it. It's kind of what my album's about in a lot of parts,
Oh, yeah. I think even before we jump into the album, too, a couple of things to mention about that. One, bringing up Ronnie Radke is another like good example of that, too. Meanwhile, as you're saying that, I'm like, I got these two skate decks up here from Falling in Reverse. There's a cowboy hat on that lamp back there. That's the Falling in Reverse cowboy hat. So, I mean, I see this stuff, too. I've seen this happen. And I know you're talking about, too, where it's like, when you're constantly trying to, like, just, debunk rumors to people that have been debunked over and over again. You're right. Those people are just are not going to have a different agenda at that point in time, too. But the real key is why I think, especially where you're coming from, where now you're more in your music now. You're happy to be going back out in it and you found that passion again. But overall, you have this different attitude is because you no longer see yourself just as trying to be Tyler from Saving Vice. You don't want to see yourself and put your full identity into just that. taking the time back and taking the time away from it, you really discovered you discovered more of who Tyler actually is. You really discovered everything there is, and maybe there's still some stuff to discover that's in there about what you like, about who you are, about what you're passionate about the things that matter the most and what you value the most. And then are able to really put that in there, use that as a creative process. And then now when you have to, potentially try and always deal with these people online, debunk these different rumors all the time, you're not putting nearly as much stock into it because your identity for your own personal worth isn't tied into being Tyler from Saving Vice. It's to being Tyler who you are, to not only your wife, to your family, to your friends, to people that are closest to you and the people that you truly do care about.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a lot I could add, but I've always said that, like, when I've talked about your interviews, I'm like, this guy will tell me the whole meaning of my song and I won't even have to sometimes. Like, it's just like, but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like all the clip notes. That was all 100% true. And like really not learning to not take people for granted in real life. Like, I'm not going to say where I work because I don't like any, and this is part of what I said is like a lot of it's like a privacy thing where it's like, I don't want people who don't like me fucking thinking about me. So I just don't want them to see what I'm doing unless I have to post about it or I really want to. Or like, because people's jealousy and envy of me has been like the root of like all of my trauma in the music industry for my entire life. And it was like the second I walked away from just succeeding at music, everything went quiet. Every it sucks because it's like, all my favorite, like the thing I love the most, it's like not the thing that other people like the most about me. And I thought it had to be the best thing about me. It had to be my whole purpose. And Kaylee Wolf from Rivals, who's a close friend of ours, she said one time, you really got to find like another passion outside of music. And I think that's why so many people are miserable, is because like you see a follower drop off your Instagram and it's like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? I need to post more content. I gotta and I just like don't give a shit and we're fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's like, honestly, when I get people in following, every time I post like me doing anything with a weapon or martial arts, some really cool video, I lose like 3 or 4 followers. And they're all probably dudes who just like talk shit and try to start fights, who can't do any of that shit. And it totally emasculated them. So they don't want to look at my shit anymore. Cause it's like, I was going to make music. And anytime I did anything where I was succeeding or whatever, or people were bitching at me because I was shirtless, and I'm like, bro, you ever been to the fucking beach? Also, I'm in my apartment and it's like 200 degrees in the whole world because of climate change. Like, I don't know what you want me to fucking do. Why are you so bothered by this? Like, this is such a weird thing to comment on or something like that. It's just like, it's just people just now things that used to get me into fights and me blah, blah, blah. I'm like, the insecurity, like you can smell it. You can smell the fear and the insecurity and like the apathy. And they're like, they're never going to get themselves off their fucking laptop and do what you're doing. So they have to fucking minimize it and make you somehow feel like, even though you weren't even doing it with an ego, you were just being like, this is what I do. All my content is just my daily shit. If I happen to turn my camera on, I don't block off time to make content. Like, that shit made me want to kill myself. Like, it's just like, you know what I'm saying? I am content. And that's what I realized is like everything else that I'm good at and that I enjoy, there is an audience for, and they're not pieces of shit like a lot of people in the music scene are, you know what I mean? Like, I just like, no one gets mad or starts drama because you're good at 1-inch punching a piece of wood. You might get a few insecure dudes who like, I could fight you or some shit. And I'm like, I'm like, there's so many layers to like, why would you say that? Like, it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but at the same time, and like, not even like in the duh way of like, oh, no, you couldn't, but like, why? Like, there's no way if you could beat me in a fight, you wouldn't have commented that. Because you feel like you can't, and you need to make me feel like I can't. And I don't even know who you fucking are. And that's the people on the internet. It's like, and that's what Blood or Wine's about. And like Cry Wolf, you know, it's like people who are just projecting everything they hate about themselves on anybody doing better than them. I'll try to end the rant there.
I get to see ending the rant there, but also another thing that looks like it too is, and that's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of things that are going on in life. I mean, we've seen it with people in the music industry. We've seen it with people. We've seen it all over the place where there's a lot of times where people, especially now today's day and age, have their identity tied up in one singular thing where it's you have to be this or you have to be so focused in on this. Like you when you were trying to always be having your identity tied up in Tyler from Saving Vice and how that was.
I gotta interject there because it brought out the worst in me. And like I'm not saying that I'm perfect or I didn't make mistakes, but like I've been accountable for everything that I actually did, but the whole time I had certain people I'm not going to bring up gaslighting me that I was still crazy and then I was still doing shit wrong when I was literally like maybe in like the best shape and best place mentally I'd ever been in. And it's like they convinced me I wasn't. And I started to believe it, right? And then it's just like you get, but it's it's like you it's like you were saying, you start, it's weird how you can really know something isn't true, but your body and your anxiety will make you feel it like it's really happening.
Yeah, your mind will play tricks on you. But where I was going with that whole entire piece was when you are so tight.
You say a lot of good things, and I'm ADHD, so I'm like, I can go on a response about that. I'm like, fuck, but yeah, keep going.
Well, it's like when people have such, identity stuck in one thing, whether it's stuck in music, stuck in whatever their political affiliation is, their favorite sports team, or literally or anything, their job, what happens is you get so hyper focused in on that where anything else is going to always be put into focus into that, and it's going to either positively impact you or even the slightest bit of inconvenience or anything worse than that is going to negatively impact that, and it's going to negatively impact the rest of the surrounding areas of your life. When you take stock and say, hey, I'm not just about this. I'm a person, I'm a human, I have more interests, I have much more to offer, and what is it that I actually enjoy? What are the other things I actually enjoy? Then you start to take a look around and you start to see not only your identity in these other aspects, but who you are fully as a person. I'll use myself as an example. Yeah, I'm always doing these podcasts. I love music. I always go to concerts. I'm always in the mosh pit, and I love working out just for that. But what are the other things I like to do? Well, I still go and play disc golf every now and again. That's something I enjoy. I'm not as big into sports.
Never heard that before. Yeah, that is the first time I've ever heard someone say I disc golf. Like,
yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't enjoy sports as much as I used to, but I still like watching sports. I still like seeing some of that. I'm just not as into it as I once was because I had my identity so focused into it at one point. It just wasn't worth it.
Will you mind if I ask? Were you like a big athlete or something?
Not the biggest athlete. I was just I was always the oddball. I was always the opposing team's fan from where I'm from. So I was always the always social pariah number one in school.
Oh, I hear you. See, I was like the invisible kid with the tissues and then I was embraced by drama club when I got to high school. So when I got to high school, I was just like with my manga, like not knowing I was taller than all my bullies back then. Like I made myself small because I felt small, my whole life. Yeah. That's what Cullen Kindness was about. We might have talked about this actually on a separate interview, but I remember it was like the theater kids were all just as fucking weird as me, and they all liked anime and manga, and were like doing massage trains and being weird and jokes, and it was just like you kind of find your people, and that's kind of what I did was like I just hung out with people who only liked shit I liked, and I stopped trying to be fucking friends with people I can't stand,
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, when you look at the album too with Good Days, Dead Eyes, it's you put so much into that where you can really see all the stuff that you went through, but also it shows so much more of that growth beyond, we went through all this stuff. Of course, we're going to talk about, of course, we're going to have that no bullshit attitude about it. But if also you're going to come back at us with the exact same stuff, it's not going to affect us in that way because our identity is not tied into just being musicians or just being in this band. Our identity is tied to who we actually are and the multitude of things that we actually enjoy, the multitudes of people that we actually care about in our lives, and how we can make an impact on those people in the positive way, like your family, like your wife, like your friends that you actually truly care about. Like it amalgamates into something that's much bigger. I mean, I even think about shit. I was just at Louder Than Life before we did this interview. I was with my two buddies. One I've known since I was 5. One I've known since I was 17. We went down. We stayed with a couple guys from Georgia who we've only really ever met there. But it's like we just became the best friends of all time just because we just all like doing the same stuff and we all just connect on that way. So why not enjoy each other's time and company? Yeah, we're not the same people. Yeah, we don't always enjoy the same things, but we have that commonality and we bring out the best in each other. So let's go have some fun with it.
And I think with SV, one of the big problems was like the business part had taken over to a point of like where it's like the fun has stopped happening, and it was just plus we had like contentious people in the band that were like making every situation worse just with their attitudes, and then people who are just like didn't work through their shit, like me and Robbie worked through a lot of shit between us over that break, and like now I feel like we're in like the most buttery place we've ever been, and it's just weird to say because it's like the best way I can describe it is like if you've seen Dragon Ball Z and you've seen Goku and Vegeta's relationship over the years, we're at super now. Like, but we just had our like Vegeta watching Goku fighting Boo, where he's like, he's pretty good after all these. Okay, yeah, sure. And then we kind of had that mutual thing where it's like, yeah, like I'm a fucking clown, you're a fucking douche, but when we fuse, we are literally invincible. Like it's just, and that's kind of what we accepted was like, we don't need to be best friends or like because we always laugh and have points of, like we play Switch and like have fun when we're all a band together, but like we don't need to be best buddies. We need to just be bandmates and be the best we are at that, and then just leave everything else at the door and then just take a break from each other when we're done with tour. And I think that like people who can see things just objectively, but the biggest problem is no one's self-aware or willing to accept their own fault in anything. Like, and I would get accused of that because I was trying to explain like, yeah, this is a thing that happened, but it's a byproduct of A, B, and C. And they would use that as they would try to gaslight me, be like, oh, you're making excuses or wherever. It's like, well, if you hadn't stolen my car and given me a flat tire, I wouldn't have been hitchhiking, getting kidnapped. See what I'm saying? Like cause and effect, like happen. Like I didn't get here. Like I have been a happy person my whole life unless an external force has done otherwise. Like I don't do anything to anybody. And that's why it's like and that's how I had to figure out, because you can't just be like, everybody's jealous because you sound like an asshole. But like at some point you have to look in the mirror and be like, you've never hurt anyone. Like you've fucked up like every person has, but you've never done anything to ever deserve what the shit that you've been through. Like, and just know that. And then you start to like see all the strings attached. Like you're watching movies and like politicians and you're like, they all talk the same fucking way. Like they say their rehearsed routine that they repeated 1,000 times and dodge the real subject so they don't have to get an explanation that'll make them wrong. And then they just ramble at you and gaslight you and talk over you and bring up other shit. So you're forced to defend all these derailed subjects, and they never have to actually talk about the actual subject that started the conversation. And I can smell that shit from a mile away because I was in a band with people who did that. And it's like, it infuriates me. And if you've been watching the recent presidential debates, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's just like, especially if someone asks someone a yes or no question, if they say anything but yes or no, it makes me want to like stab myself in the eye socket. Like if they're like, well, first of all, let's talk about some other things. I think it's really cool that people ask yes or no questions, but what we really need to talk about is this guy over here hates yes or no questions. And I'm like, yes or no? Like what the fuck? Like, and you know exactly who that impression was. Like I'm not gonna say the name, but like
I was gonna say, did you rip that off of South Park when they did the debate between a giant douche and a turd sandwich?
I don't even watch South Park, no.
Oh, they basically did the exact same thing. It was like, well, I love that question. My opponent over here would never have the ability to answer that question. If you ask him that question, I guarantee that he could not answer that question. I'm sorry, sir, we're out of time.
Yeah, dude. Dude, it was literally like I do so much research because I am so obsessed with being informed of what I'm talking about. Like it's literally an obsession of mine, to the point where like I would never want to be a journalist, but I low-key like want to do what a journalist does. So people have to know facts because people are so brazenly stupid and so confident, and it's excruciating in a way that makes me physically ill. And I just had to kind of like for a long time it felt like it was my responsibility to speak on these things and blah 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 and but like now it's like I keep myself informed, but I can't even follow it anymore because it literally like I'm gonna write the Cabal Part 2. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to like I've never been like I've written the most rage fueled shit I've ever written in my life on that album, and I just don't want to feel that way. And unfortunately, when you're in like a world where you can't tell anyone anything because the truth doesn't matter, which I just accidentally quoted our song Cry Wolf. You can't tell you anything. But like you literally like you can't even have a conversation because they just blah, 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 and they word vomit 40 lies, and you're like, where do I start? And even if you start, they don't listen, so you're just like, whatever. Like it's just Keanu Reeves said it best. I think he said, I just don't let anything bother me if people they're like, well, I think 2 + 2 = 5, and they're like, cool, have fun with that, and then just walk away. Like, have fun getting hit by a bus. I don't know. Like, you're just like, you're going to not see a street sign because you're like, well, red means go for me. Like, eventually Darwinism has its day. I kind of just walk away and put my hands up now. Like, if I have to, like I said, what I said earlier, if I have to spend the first conversation debunking a rumor or conspiracy theory, like, you already lost.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, people don't want to be informed. They want to argue. And I'm not willing to have a conversation that has no purpose.
Is that necessarily they don't want to be informed? They just want to be right. That's really the thing, is they want to be right in that aspect. But really, especially when it comes to the album, when it comes to where you're at as well.
Wrong is why I'm so, like, I'm the best I've ever been, is because I've written about all the shit I was wrong about. I mean, like, the best musicians people look up to are the ones who talk about, I was a piece of shit, I should have fucked her enough. And then people are like, oh yeah, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people look up to that and aspire to it. But people who have never been through shit, who don't understand the nuance and everything's black and white, like, they will never see past the sensationalized Ronnie Radke killed 4 people. Like, Ronnie Radke raped women. Like, I don't like that. That's categorically false. And then people are like, well, of course he legally handled it. I'm like, that's how defamation works, bro. Like there's consequences to ruining someone's life emotionally and taking away their money and their income and fucking shit up because you went, hee, I don't like you, and hit enter. Like, you can't just do that. And if it's the last thing I do, if that's my last message with Saving Vice, it'll be like putting the fear of God into those people. So every fucking person with an internet personality doesn't have to have the fear instead.
I mean, that makes sense. But really where I was going to think about going with this too is really where all this is coming from is the fact that, you know, the reason why you're not letting any of this hit you anymore is because you found the confidence within yourself for who you are. And again, it's not tied to one specific singular aspect.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to negate that. I guess I meant more so as far as like the marketing and business aspect of being able to be in a band is like, you got to know who you are, have a thick skin, and then just like when people try to like bait you into their, like, people will try to, this is how it usually starts. I'm actually writing a book low key on the steps of like how to ruin someone's life with a lie step by step. And it's like literally like who you DM, how you screenshot shit, blah, 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 because I've seen it done so many times so people can start to notice when something's fake. But like it, I totally got myself derailed there. But it's just basically sorry, I lost my thought.
I was saying, but when you come and talk about band marketing,
sorry, I meant that's what I meant. Yeah, we're talking about market. I just meant like not being so much like, yes, I'm doing this, and there's no fear because like I'm doing this for the right reasons, and I know it, and I have other stuff that matters to me, and like my whole life isn't defined by if someone likes my band or not. But also like when those people try to like bait you in whatever, I know exactly how to like see it coming and just like shut it down or wall it off, because they only win by you acknowledging them or responding to it. If you act like you never saw it, it goes away. Like, so that's kind of what I meant, was like you just learning to like see it and not engage with it, or like throw the bait back at them somehow, like so they end up just arguing with themselves and you can just sorry, but
I'll say, but then one of the biggest keys to be able to do something like that too is you have to be able to have the confidence within yourself of who you are as a person, be able to get to that point and to not have your identity type in one singular thing. Because think about it from the online perspective, like if your identity is so tied into just you being a musician and you being a part of Saving Vice, and that's what someone is essentially attacking. If that's your whole entire thing, you're going to try and protect that any way possible. So you're going to end up interacting and reacting in certain ways that might be detrimental, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to protect that overall image, that overall, connection that you have to what you really want to go for. But when you have this bigger identity of things that you like, things that you're interested in, and you have that confidence in you to be able to go beyond that because you know exactly who you are, and with your identity not tied into one specific thing, you have the confidence and you have the ability to feel like you don't have to interact with those people. You can just let it go, and then they're the ones that have the identity all tied up in that one specific thing. So then they react in different ways. And then those reactions end up leading to negative consequences for them because now they start to seem like, why are you just constantly going off on this stuff? There's no point in this. Why are you so tied up in this? Why is your identity so tied up in this going after one person because maybe they did one thing that you disagreed with?
Yeah, you're kind of speaking my language. And like, actually, it's funny because I say something really often that's kind of condensed of all that. Like, I'm trying to like remember it now because I'm thinking about so many things you just said. I'm trying to remember everything, but it's like fuck, you just said, what was the last thing you just said? It was like really profound, but it reminded me exactly of something else that I always say. It
was about when people that, especially like if they're attacking you and then you don't respond to them, it's because their identity is so wrapped up in that they just keep going back and back, and then the consequences come back to them negatively.
Yeah, like it's like they don't even like they don't even need you for the conversation, which is how it's not. It's like I always say, it's like this really feels like it's about something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I say of someone like because I literally was like, we're playing with Evergreen Terrace. Great example. This just happened. This was fresh.
Yeah.
Evergreen Terrace got all that heat because they were like, yeah, we don't want to play this festival where they're bringing this like divisive political figure who murdered people to a festival. That's not whatever, right? That has no place in a festival, no matter if you do think he's a piece of shit or not, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, they became the point of controversy because they backed out when, like, they weren't the one who brought politics to the festival.
Yeah.
So, I just saw Evergreen Terrace on my phone, and it was just like, oh, hyped to play with them, kind of like marketing, saving with us, maybe they're looking for playing with Evergreen Terrace. And I got this rant, and the guy called me a LIBRUL liberal, so you can tell what he looked like in his profile picture. But like, he just went on this rant. I'm like, why are your bandits? So I never see your libtard fucking blah blah blah, something about Kyle Rittenhouse, whatever. And all I said was hyped to play with them this fall. I'm not kidding. And that's what I deal with on a daily basis. It's like you are so fucking like like so fucking like what the fuck that like anything that makes you think of something. And then I'm like, dude, Trump needs to stop playing musicians' music that I like at festivals or at his fucking rallies, festivals and such. What a joke. But like, for example, not politically, whatever, you can't do that. You can't play people's music without their fucking permission. Mm-hmm. Anyone should sue someone for that. I would. But like, he keeps doing it. Like, I like Celine Dion. So immediately, Celine Dion, when she got mad that he was playing the Titanic theme, which was hilarious for different reasons if you watch that footage, like, and I don't know why they picked it, but like, now if I brought up Celine Dion then like a day or two later because I was listening to like the Deadpool song, mm-hmm. and I got like this dude like down my throat about politics because I made a status about jamming Celine Dion, mm-hmm. and it's like those people just you block them enough, and this is what you said. I'm remembering this thing now. You said in a really long way this statement. You block them all, so they're on their own little angry, little ignorant, stupid island where they can't make anybody else. Because like they make their stupidity everyone else's problem. A lot of people don't have problems until these people pop out of the ground. So you just block them all, and then you're kind of like when the last angry guy in the corner is just like blah 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 blah, and everyone else is just ignoring him. He starts to finally look like that crazy guy in the corner who's just screaming. And you got the best thing you can do. But if you don't go up to the guy with the sign like the world's gonna end, give me a sandwich, and like go up and argue with him, you're like just like you just want that. And that's what I do when someone brings up fucking like a conspiracy theory or like starts doing weird Handmaid's Tale shit on the internet. I'm just like, I don't even know you. I don't owe you any respect or acknowledgement. I definitely don't owe you my emotions or my blood pressure rising. Like there's real people that I want to beat the shit out of that I know. I'm not going to waste my energy on some weirdo on the internet. That's whatever, right? And then once you start to look at it that way, you start to see these internet people as like NPCs from a video game with just like a rehearsed fucking thing where no matter how many times you hit A, they're going to say the same fucking thing. So you never talk to that person in the game ever again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da. Like that's it. That's it. That's the secret.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I kind of try and embody that too with the podcast, because there's bands that I want to bring on from all different walks of life that have experienced different things, that have done different things, that see the world in different ways. And yeah, there's some that the people on the internet might be like, oh, we don't like that band, so we're not gonna like you. Who cares? You may have never even heard the podcast before that day, but now you're not gonna like it. Ooh, big loss type thing. Like, I'm not going to respond to that because I've got so much other important stuff I got to do. So if something bad happens and all of a sudden, something gets taken away from me, I've got like 20 other things in life that I can always look to and find positive in there, because I'm not all wrapped up in this, but I still want to be able to talk to people I want to talk to and have the discussions I want to have with people, because that's where we get the magical moments of connection on stuff like this, where we can talk about this, what you went through and how it all impacted you, and seeing where you are now and seeing you have this confidence in you so that you know who you are, not just having your identity tied up in Tyler from Saving Vice, to put out this album, to go back out on tour, and to do so many of these other things and live life the way you want to live it and actually be happy through it, and not let some random person on the internet turn your day and turn your whole entire feelings upside down into depression because they were going to go on a political rant for you listening to Celine Dion.
And I don't even want to stick on the political thing either. It's like, but yeah, any person who watches this knows exactly the person I'm talking about. And they like, if you're, I just think, I look at it this way. If I'm like getting like an emotional reaction that's like negative from my phone, I just get off my phone. That's like, you know what I mean? And also like, just from someone who works from home and lives in their apartment, I make sure I at least walk to the store to get a White Claw or something, because like the second I'm like inhaling fresh air and like on the ground and not in a closed space on screens, like the dopamine levels like shoot up, you know. And it's like getting yourself back to what like we were all happy before we experienced phones and drugs and alcohol. So like my whole new thing is like there's a way back, you know, and there's no reason not to. And there's every reason to do that. And I think another thing too I'd like to leave as like, because I love giving advice so much unsolicited, but it ties into what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I love giving unsolicited advice because people love to unsolicitedly complain about shit that they could solve with my advice. So it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. They're like, I don't like these unsolicited advice. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You give me a problem, I'm going to give you a solution. Like, I don't have time for this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like if you're saying, hey, I just really need to vent, that's different. But if you're like, my back hurts, I'm like, stop sitting like a fucking, you look like Gollum. Sit up straight. Your back won't hurt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they're like, well, fuck you. I don't like it. I'm just like, then stop saying your back hurts, bro. Like, people are dying and getting blown up overseas, and you're like, you can't just sit up. Like, shut up. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's the whole internet, dude. It's just people doing nothing with their lives, looking for self-actualization through the words of a stranger. Like, does anybody know any advice about this? I'm like, dude, you're an adult. Just Google how to fix it. YouTube video. Like, I taught myself 6 different martial arts with YouTube and like 10 different weapons. I mean, there's a lot of backstory to this, but like, essentially, if you understand what it is, how it or why it is, and how it works, you can pretty much do anything. Is kind of the point. And that's how we've been a DIY band this whole time, you know? And how I kind of just did shit. Like, I don't have a lot of money. Like, I just, if you figure out how to be resourceful, you know, you can do anything with YouTube. Like, I give people my Skillshare link all the time because I taught myself, like, I'm teaching myself sign language, Chinese, production, Procreate, Photoshop, piano, all on this thing I pay one time. And if I give anyone my code, they get a free month to try it out. And then I get like a free month or something. But that shit changed my life. Like, if I want to do something now, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I literally just, boom, there's a whole class. Or there's a YouTube video where someone breaks it all down. But people just post statuses instead of problem solving. And I just have, like, no patience or empathy or sympathy for that left, I guess, is kind of where I'm at. Because people like that are the ones that eventually putrefy and metastasize into, like, haters. Because they get so bitter with their lack of whatever they're doing that they need to bring people down to their level so that they feel like they have their own evil playing field. So you kind of just have to like try to lift people up And so, you know what I mean? To bring them to your level. So it's like, bro, I'm trying to give you advice so you can stop being so mad about what I'm doing and upset with yourself and do these things, you know? And that's why I think that's why me and Robbie have found such a passion in, like, he's recording the same people and then they come to me for vocal lessons and writing, and then they go to, and my people go to record with him. And then we've like kind of taken these dudes and kids who've like never done anything, and suddenly they're like screaming and making their own album and doing the shit. And we're like, don't do this, do this, and telling them all our horror stories. So we get to like, rather than being like, you know, you should have to go suffer like we did and tour and do all this shit, blah, 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 and be at those stupid hype bands on the labels that are like, want to, you know, oh yeah, pay me and I'll tell you how to not die. It's like, give them the playbook so they can not suffer like you suffered. That's kind of like the rewarding part of it, you know?
Yeah, well, don't we want to have people, like, especially, you know, maybe succeed and learn from our mistakes instead of force them to go through the same shit?
Yeah, it's like, it's called repeating the cycle. You know what I mean?
Let's break the cycle. And I think especially everything you've been through, especially all the stuff that you've dealt with, now you're especially in a much better place, going out on tour with Fight From Within, able to listen to Good Days, Dead Eyes. You really get the full aspect of it, and then be able to see you play live in October. So be sure to go out and go and see him, because do it. I'm just saying, do it.
You do it.
Do it. Well, Tyler, I know you got to get going, so I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast today. 3 things when it comes to saving Vice, when it comes to being able to check out Good Days, Dead Eyes, of course, it's available now, and seeing them play with Fight From Within in October. Go script from the podcast where it says Find Saving Vice online, links, labels for everything are going to be down there, so you can check out the band, you can check out the music, you can go see them play live, and you can go keep up with them on social media as well. Now it's time for number 2. Tyler, I've had you on the podcast before. I made you a promise that was, first time I've had on the podcast, when I see you perform live for the first time, first round's on me. Second time on the podcast, haven't seen you play live yet, so first round turns to 2.
Well, that's great, because I'm on like an especially special budget this tour, so I'll appreciate, like, I'll have a lot of people, like, in the past I've had to turn down drinks, but I'll probably be taking a lot more of the free drinks this time around, except not before I'm playing every night. That's one of those things I took accountability for.
Yeah, let's make sure it's after the set, not before the set.
It's really hard when you're broke to say no to a free $17 glass of Jameson at a venue. That's all I'm saying.
But say, hey, I'd love to have that free glass of $17 Jameson with you
when I walk off stage.
After the set.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me do the thing that you came here to see first, and then we'll do that. But time for number 3. Tyler, can I end this by saying goodbye, because I do want to have you back on the podcast again. The second time, I want to make sure we get a third time in there sometime in the future. Plus, I still got to make good on those promises. So, my friend, this is not goodbye. This is, I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'll see you later, buddy.
Well, folks, I'm an interview with Tyler from Saving Vice. Now it's time for Kevin's final thought. And we're going to go with this final thought. So, of course, I mean, maybe you were in with it and saw the stuff that happened with Saving Vice. But the main key I wanted to make with this podcast is, you know, there's stuff that happens, and especially if there's stuff that proves to be untrue, but it still sticks with people. It stinks. I mean, we've seen it happen. It stinks. But what really stands out is the fact of something that we can all learn from this, and all learn from Tyler as well if we haven't already learned it, where if we have our identities wrapped up in something completely, in one thing, then when something ends up threatening that, we attack that and we respond to that threat so heavily that it really sends us in a deep, dark path that really doesn't, you know, situate well with us. And when we do some dumb things and it turns our lives upside down and it completely ruins our mood. But when we realize that we're more than just one thing, or we more than just related to one thing, where we have more interests, where we care about more people than just one thing, where we have family, we have friends, we have close relatives, we have spouses, relationships, whatever it might be, that we really care about, and other things that we like as well, when we start to really take a look and see how all of those really impact us, what we like to do, and see ourselves as much more of a whole than one single entity in one single piece, like, you know, having your identity wrapped up in just music. There is so much more to life beyond that. And then you find constancy, you find happiness in it, and any threats of that just kind of roll off your shoulders. So I want to thank Tyler for being on the podcast today. When it comes to Saving Vice, go script to the podcast. Everything is down there for where you can stream the music, especially Good Days, Dead Eyes, where you can find them on social media, where you can get tickets for their show with Fight From Within. Also, be sure to go and subscribe to the Chord Progression Podcast right down here. New episodes every single Tuesday and Thursday. Hit like on the episode as well. Hit follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Hit like on the episode there. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links to the podcast below. Thank you, Tyler. That's good, neighbor. Thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. That was a big, healthy, and hearty. See y'all. Yeah.